Well, now I'm your host, Lambo Drew. You are now tuned in to another edition of The Leverage Show. Y'all do not want to miss this show tonight. I'm telling you right now, we all know that The Leverage Show actually switches over for that moment of that third or fourth Thursday night with Miss Tracy, and it literally comes to The Leverage Show Talks with Tracy Taris. And I'm telling you, we love that because at this moment, you guys don't know how Miss Tracy has actually been the heartbeat of so many people, man, right here on the Leverage Show. Like she's helped countless of people throughout the journey and throughout the broadcast and what she does and how she does it. And every time we come back to the show, like this is her segment, like we get it. Like it's no longer the Leverage Show family at that point. It's literally like therapy time with Tracy, therapy talks with Tracy Taris. And it's like the best part because so many of us, man, are literally like, I'm telling you, man, we don't have an outlet. We don't have the right direction. We don't have the right connection. We don't have the right words to say and may not know how to be able to do things and maneuver in life. And Tracy comes out here and each and every single broadcast just is like blesses us to the core with so many great, wonderful things that she's doing. And I'm so thankful, man, because her talks, her therapy, just everything about Tracy. If you guys have never seen her, I'm telling you what, lights up the room and illuminates those dark places in our life that we hope that we can actually get together and being able to hear the testimonies that come in. I'm telling you, on a regular basis, and everybody asks, when is Tracy coming back to the show? When is Tracy coming back to the show? When is Tracy coming back? Well, she's here tonight. So make sure you guys are sharing this video. Get this video out to each and every single person you can. Like if you just know, like, hey man, I need to get the video out to somebody, just share it, just send it. You don't never know who needs to hear the message, the wonderful advice and tips that she actually gives. That is not just something to tickle your ears, but something to be life-changing. And that's what we all love about Miss Tracy Taris. So before we bring her on to the show, man, let's go ahead, man, and let's see who's in the chats, man, and let's show some love out here to Miss Tracy, man. Kennard Haney's in the building, man. Shout out to you, Kennard Haney. Welcome back, Miss Taris. Let's go. This is what I love to see, man. This is how we do things out here. And he wrote that at 9:34 last night. I see you in the building, Kennard Haney, man. Dude, you was waiting for this one. You was like, don't even worry about this, Lambo. I'm going to be one of the first in here, man, on the Leverage Show to show some love. Next up, man, my guy, Issa, man, it's in the building. Shout out to you, Issa, man. Issa has been having a great day. He's been pacing floors and all of that other great things just for this moment, man. So shout out to you, Issa, man. Happy Thursday, everyone, and welcome back, Miss Taris. Issa always talks about, and I'm telling you this right now, and I will say this, he always talks about Miss Tracy and all of the things that she has actually been to him, his family's life, and some of the great things that he's been able to do to really level up and really break down those walls of communication, that a lot of people may lack. And he loves Tracy and some great things that she actually comes to the show and always talks about all the time. So I knew Issa was definitely going to be tapped in and tuned into this one. Thank you for you being you, Issa. You already know. Issa says, hi, Brother Ken. How are you? So in love. You already know what time it is, man. My cousin Errol's in the building saying, what's up, Leverage Show family? I see Ken showing love. Yes, yes, yes. Shout out to your cuz. I see you in the building all the way back in the boot in Louisiana doing his thing, man. You already know my guy Larry the Lion is in the building, Lambo family, man. Shout out to you, Larry the Lion, man. Thank you, Larry, for all that you do, man. I know you love therapy with Tracy talks. I'm trying to tell you this right now. This always blesses you. Tracy doesn't know this, but Larry had the chance a couple weeks back with him and his wife T to come here to Denver, Colorado, man, and celebrate, man, the birthday weekend. And we had the McClendons, Dee Dee's Chicken Cat Shack, and all of them, and brother-in-law, and all kind of other people, man. It was a lot of people. And the conversation when they got here, when we talked about therapy and what Tracy Taris has meant to people's lives, shout out to Larry, literally, for really saying how much you've helped his life, changed his life, and turning so many people connected with Tracy from this broadcast that he shared this with and said, you guys got to see this. You guys got to see Tracy. You guys got to see it. And they've actually connected outside of this broadcast and actually have done some things together. So shout out, man, for Tracy and everything that she's doing, man, because the impact, man, which my brother Larry, Wonderful White T, and many countless of others of you guys have really went on ahead, man, and talked about it. If you guys remember, it was me and my wife and Larry and his wife T that did the couples segment with Tracy on here. So shout out and everything, man, for that, man. And you guys already know that y'all are always plugged in and dear to the family, man. So thank you, Larry the Lion, man, for all that you do and being in the building and showing love. I see you showing love to Larry. You already know what time it is, man. I see you showing love, man, to Arrow, man. Hey, let's go. Issa, what are you dancing for, man? He's dancing. Shout out to Issa for dancing, man. Thank you, man. Let's keep that great energy as we always keep it on the Leverage Show. Larry, say what's up. I see showing love to Issa, man, in the building. You know what time it is, man. I love, man, these moments, man, where we actually can get to be able to hear from the people that Tracy, that, you know, before she comes to speak on the show. I love that, man. Listen, without further ado, we're going to bring the guest of honor to her segment. It's no longer the segment of the Leverage Show. It's literally Therapy Talks with Tracy. And we love this time with our girl, Miss Tracy Taris. Welcome back to the show. Thank you, Miss Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me, Lambo. That was a great introduction. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. You're welcome. Well, talk to us from the last time. What has been going on with my girl, Tracy? And I know you had a new book that you were working on and coming out. So we want to hear all about that other good stuff. And then we'll kind of get into the topics for tonight.
Well, I just want to say it's nice to hear that people are having conversations about some of the things that we talk about on the show. And it's doubly nice to hear that it's impacting people's lives. Like there's things that they hear here that they can apply, you know, to their relationships and to their lives and whatnot. So that does my heart really good to hear that, you know, because the people that I impact most of the time are the personal people in my life or people at my church or my clients that I see here. And every now and then a former client or someone will send a card and state, you know, how they were impacted and whatnot. And that's always like, it always just like swells my heart to hear that. And so to hear that some of your viewers have that impact and they talk about it, that's just thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that.
You already know, man, we're always going to go ahead and make sure that we keep things moving in the right direction here because you have been such instrumental to us. Like, and I'm telling you, man, if you guys haven't picked up the book, man, the other book that she had, I got my book literally right here. I don't have to go nowhere. Look at this. This is God honest truth. Even got my bookmarker in here. I use mail for the bookmarker. Many voices, one truth, man. Tracy Taris. Y'all got to pick this book up. I'm telling y'all this right now. This is amazing. This is truly an amazing book. And I'm telling you what, like we do reading, serious, and put this in to our daily. Look, it's right here. It's not with a stack of books that we're not even just looking at for decoration. It's boom right here at my desk. So I know I can go ahead and get a hold of that book and be able to apply the knowledge. Like you talk about so many different things, man, between it, just within this book, but there's so many principles in life that a lot of us can go ahead and take from the book, apply it for our life, and really allow that to help change our life and help, change our life for the better. Let's talk about, shout out to you, QP. I see you in the building, man. Hey, Leverage Show family. It's been a minute. What up, though? Thank you, QP. I know you're working, man, and he catches us between his break, literally at work, and he says, I share it to all my coworkers and everything else. So shout out to you guys for that. Shout out to you, Money. I see you in the building. Hello, you got this. Thank you, Money, man, for so much. I think you think all the love that you guys are always giving Tracy right here to the show. But let's talk about that a little bit because I think that it's so clear in this time when we see that there's wars now going on in Israel and Palestine, man, and Hamas, man, going back and forth. Do you sense like there has been like a sense of people getting scared or an unsurety of what's going on with with everybody that you talk with, or just people more still self-centered on their own lives and personal things these days when they actually talk with you?
No, people are being impacted by what's going on in the Middle East, and there are people that are concerned about what that could mean for us in the United States and what that could mean, for the world. And so, usually, what I do is I allow them to just talk about it so that they can just get it out and express their fears and concerns. And then I ask them questions just to make them think through it, to have them to think through like some of the likelihood of some of what they're talking about. And some of the things could be likely, but it's more about helping people to get to a place where they meet themselves where they are today, like what's going on today, and tomorrow you have work, you have school or whatever, but keeping your mind focused on what you have going on in your life. And of course, continue to pray for what's going on in the Middle East. And I think a lot of times when there's something happening on the world stage, it's a reflection of what's going on in the hearts of many of us. Like we don't think about it that way, but like there's war that's going on in the Middle East. But then there's war. I mean, it's not like war with guns and, missiles and things like that in the United States, but we've been just kind of separated, like in our own country. Like there's been this one against that one and that one against this one and things like that. But when you boil it down, even to the individual, many of us are at war with ourselves, even. Like everybody has values that they, have, and your values are the things that govern your life. And when you engage in situations or behaviors or relationships that go against your values, then that puts you at war with yourself because you're not congruent with what you value. And so, I'm not saying that Israel and the Palestinians are at war because of what's going on with individual people. They're at war because of what's been going on, like for, hundreds of years and, centuries and whatnot. But I think it can be a reflection, like when you sit down and think about it, like whatever you see on the world stage, what is it a symbol for in smaller groups, whether it's cultures, whether it's countries, and then what is it a symbol for as you break those groups down into families, immediate family, and then yourself.
Mm. And that's amazing because I get that topic. I had a gentleman yesterday come to my house and he's repairing the AC. And amazing guy, amazing guy. We hit it off, amazing, great story. And now this is in between a lot of meetings that I had, so I had enough time to get that done, talk, and let him keep going so he can go to his next project as well. And the first thing that he says, dude, the unsurety of what's going on overseas literally goes on ahead, man, and hits us, daily. And it puts him into a mind space that he says he has to go to a range just to release therapy. I said, well, man, why don't you talk to a therapist? I said, man, we got a great therapist coming on tomorrow night, Tracy Taris. He say, no, this. He's in the mindset of literally. That's how he does. He releases his therapy through his guns. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, I get it. I understand. Have you ever probably dealt with somebody? Because I got a lot of people, right? And then speaking of that mindset of releasing the therapy through guns or whatever, they've actually suffered PTSD. And I want to talk about that on the show. And they literally have been in the military. Some amazing people. You would never know it. And they say, Lambo, man, we suffer with PTSD, and things to try to get out. How could you actually, help coach or help bring therapy or healing to somebody who may be suffering with PTSD out there?
Well, it sounds like your friend, like we're mind, body, and spirit, right? Mm-hmm. And so some of us carry our stress mostly in our minds with regards to racing thoughts and whatnot, and perseverating on this idea or that lie or what we perceive to be the truth. And then some people carry their stress in their body. So like a lot of times when you hear people saying, well, I need to go, to the boxing ring and box it out, or to the shooting range and shoot it out, they're probably super hyper aware of the stress, that's in their body. Like we all have stress in our body, because stress itself is a physiological thing. Like, it manifests in your body, but some people are more aware of it in their minds, and some people are more aware of it in their bodies. So like people that need to go on a run or get on a treadmill or do something physical, they're just like really aware of it piling up in their system. And so it just depends on the person that comes through the door. And, like if it's manifesting mostly in their mind and in their thoughts, we do a certain kind of work for that: CBT, narrative therapy, sometimes even family therapy, even if it's just one person, because family therapy is not always therapy with the whole family. It could be your individual therapy, but you're talking about family of origin issues and dynamics and whatnot. If someone comes in with PTSD and it's manifesting in a physical way more, then we do physical things like, what's your sleep like? What's been in your dreams? And we look at, what's playing out in the dreams and try to decipher whether some of that is just, your mind and your brain trying to flush out either images that you've seen, whether on TV, or images from the past when you were in a PTSD like situation, or if it's just, because a lot of dream work has to do with everything that you see is the dreamer. Like when you dream about somebody else, it's often not about, unless you're a prophetic dreamer. There are people that have prophecy dreams. And I think there are more people that have that than we realize. But most of the time, dreams are, the dreamer is everyone and everything. It's just some aspect of yourself that you've projected on that person. And so when people come in for physical, like we do start with sleep, we look at the dreams. I give them physical things that they can do. I might refer them out to a trainer, like a physical trainer, where they work with somebody at the gym or whatever, until they can get to the place where they feel more normal in their bodies, to talk about the intellectual stuff that's going on in the mind.
Wow. And I think that has been like the biggest thing. A lot of people don't take that initiative when you say we bring families into the therapy and we may do therapy like that. I don't think that people had that, that willpower, that guts, like, should I bring my family into it? Because a lot of the times when I know soldiers, right, who have suffered between the war and stuff like that, man, PTSD, they literally are stuck within that mind frame. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody. This is my war. This is my battle. Like they're still there. And even though there's a cry out for that, it's still one of the hardest things that hits a lot of people. And we've got a lot of great guys who are men and women both, who are ex-military on here, who they've been through trauma in other areas of their life. And literally they go back into that mode, like almost when like suffering PTSD. How do people like that, man, kind of get free from out of that? Because it's really affecting a lot of marriages, Tracy, that you don't know, where more people have been in that mindset of just handling things from a government standpoint or military standpoint of an order or just carrying out the assignment. But then when it comes to life and when it comes to marriage and when it comes to relationships, there's still that mental breakdown, that barrier that just cannot get over. And then people can get the healing that they need to open up. How does somebody, begin to start to get healing like that?
Well, that would have to start with a change in perspective. So for the person that's saying, I'm just going to deal with it on my own, I don't want to, impact my family or bring my family into this, what you're not realizing is that whatever it is you're going through and whatever's going on in your mind, it probably is already impacting your family, because you're showing up in a way that's not necessarily the way you would normally show up. For instance, if sometimes when people suffer with PTSD, they come across as angry,
Yeah.
because they kind of live at that threshold of, that heightened alert. And if you say something or do something and they perceive it a certain way, then it'll come out as anger because they don't have all the information. They're just kind of like living right at the threshold anyway. So the brain is just looking for something that's not safe. And so a lot of times you end up being offended by a lot of things that people aren't even meaning to offend you. So if you are thinking, I want to do this on my own and I don't want to affect my family, you probably are affecting your family because they don't get the 100% you. They get some survival version of you, whether you're having to survive the moment or whether
Mm-hmm.
you live through some huge thing that you've had to survive, but you haven't really talked about it, you know? Yeah. So switching your perspective from I'm going to protect my family, so I'm not going to bring them in, to I'm going to help my family by helping myself. And then eventually, bringing them in too, because they probably are experiencing you in the way that you're not even aware that
Mm-hmm.
they're experiencing you. And then a place in therapy, therapy is a place where everybody gets to say what it is they're feeling, but the therapist has to set that up from the get go, and then warn people to guard against offense. Because if you let yourself be offended by what is being said, then you're going to either want to end it, or you're going to take over the session or try to take over the session and start, arguing back and forth. But if you can go in with the perspective of whatever is said is the perspective or the experience of the person speaking. It doesn't mean they're right, but it also doesn't mean that they're wrong. It's their experience of you or the family dynamic or their perception of something that you're doing or not doing. And so like when people have perceptions, they can be clarified, in family therapy. Like one of my goals for all my clients, including families, is for you to become your own therapist. And so for families that I've worked with, when it's, they're getting ready to wrap it up, it seems like they've gotten the goals, they start coming in and nobody knows what to talk about. It's because, everything has been kind of worked on. I tell them to implement something called a what's your beef night. And what's your beef night is where the kids get to tell the parents what their beef is, like in a respectful way. And so, mom and dad, it hurt my feelings when this, that, and the other happens, or I don't like it when, for instance, I had one client, she didn't like when her mom would volunteer her to braid people's hair.
Mm.
She, her mom would say, oh, so and so, she'll do it. It's like a 4 or 5 hours of her time, and so mom thought she was doing something nice for other people, and it was, but it was at the mercy or, like taking advantage of her daughter. And so, for her to have a what's your beef night would be, I don't like when you volunteer my time to braid people's hair. I don't care if it's two braids down the middle, it's my time. And I want you to ask me, and I want the opportunity to be able to sell that time. I don't want to work for somebody for free for 5, 6 hours, and stuff. And so, what's your beef night is it works when the parents are open and receptive and, curious. Okay, what can I do differently? Or I'm, apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't know that bothered you. I will do that no longer, or whatever. But there's lots of different tools that people can implement in their day-to-day life. Like for marriages, I give them something called the marriage systems check, where it's about 8 items on there that they just go through once a week, or even once a month is better than never, where they just kind of keep the stuff from being swept under the rug. Because in marriages and in family, a lot of times we just sweep things under the rug, but before you know it, you're tripping over the rug. The mounds grow bigger and bigger and you're having to go around them. And, it's just not worth it for the relationship to do that.
Facts. I mean, Tracy's dropping that bomb. Shout out and everything. Tracy, you don't know this, but we have adopted the Lambo Bell, man. You get the bell for that. All right. So definitely, anytime you drop nuggets, you're gonna hear that bell.
Okay.
Fall, because you're dropping some serious nuggets, man, out here. Shout out to my guy Sean Hill. I see you in the building. Yes, take care of your mental health family, man. Yes, 100%. You have to take care of that. And a lot of people don't think that that's important, Tracy, and how big, especially in the Black community. Let's talk about that, the Black and brown and minority community, that when mental health is taking a place, we tend to overlook that or overshadow that, like, no, we don't have to worry about that. Do you see more cases where mental health is more in the predominantly Black and brown communities out there rather than it actually is in the more Caucasian communities?
Wait, is your question, do I see where more Black people are coming in than white people?
Yeah. Now, like that's because we talk about it now and stuff like that more than ever about mental health, where we didn't used to talk about it 10, 20 years ago like that. Mm-hmm. Now it's being more prevalent and we're pushing it out more because we're actually seeing the breakdown of certain things happen. And shout out to my guy, Crypto Pays Me Daily, from Showing Love from Dubai on here as well. We see that more. And we lost a friend, Quentin and I, man, both, Jared Battle, man, just a couple of months ago. And he was involved with the head-on collision, from a driver going into a wrong way out there in Texas. And him and Quentin was literally just in Hong Kong, like days before that, they get back. And then he's involved in this terrible, terrible accident, man. That cost him his life, man, such a young age. And 55, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So, that mental battle of the families like that, man, being in a Black and brown community and then trying to get through to the next level. I know there's certain people that they're just stuck in time. They don't want to go on ahead and try to move. How do we get past that and start moving forward and really get the help that we need in our communities like that?
Well, to answer your first question of whether there's more Black families coming in than white families, I would say no, it's still white people mostly looking for therapy. However, there are more and more Black families that come in, so the stigma is being reduced. Mm-hmm. I probably get a lot more Black families than other therapists because I'm a Black therapist, but I think overall there's still a little bit of a stigma, but it's been greatly reduced. And I think we have, there's many things that played into that in the past with regards to there being hesitancy in our communities. And one of them is like when you talk to therapists, sometimes there's things that are reportable. And so like our families, we have a different culture in how we do things and raise kids and things like that sometimes. And so sometimes there's been like fears of, we don't want anybody knowing what's going on in our family because it'll be perceived the wrong way, or it'll be perceived or judged against the culture at large, or whatever the dominant culture is, and things like that. But even that is starting to be less and less, and people are, coming in more and more. But if you're stuck, like if if there's like a little nudge that you're receiving in the back of your mind saying, go in and get some therapy, do it. Like you won't know until you actually do it. And there's a thing that happens in your brain, like when you even just setting the appointment, like just talking to somebody and setting the appointment, you'll automatically start feeling a little better because there's something down on paper, there's a plan, you're going to go talk to this person. And then hopefully after you talk with the person, you start feeling even better, at least seeing that, okay, there is a way out of this. There is, there can be a plan. Like most therapists will come up with a treatment plan, which means this is what you're feeling today. Within 3 months' time, hopefully these symptoms will be diminished or gone or whatever. And that gives people a lot of hope. But if you're not going in, if you're not making that call, if you're not talking to someone, then you'll never know that feeling. You'll never know the feeling of relief that can be yours just by making that appointment and just by having that first session.
Thank you. Thank you for that, for clarifying that up, because I think a lot of people are so scared to make that first move, man. And my guy, Crypto Pays Me Daily, says, yeah, don't be scared of therapy. I have gone so many times, man, and hearing that, from the success that Quentin is having and his team, I love what he's doing out there. He's back right now. I think he's in Dubai right now at another meeting, traveling again. I love to see that because a lot of us in our community, we hate to say this, but we're like, oh, we're just gonna keep people out of our problems. We don't want people in our business. We don't want people to really go on here to know that we are dealing with this and battling with this issue.
And maybe you don't want people knowing, but a professional has legal and ethical responsibilities of not putting it out there like that. So if you go and talk to people at church or your neighbor, they might put your business out there, but a professional that's licensed are under there. We have constraints that you can't just be talking about, people's problems or what you're working on with them,
Mhm. Well, thank you for that because I think that puts the rest or at ease to mind that there is some wonderful counselors and therapists out here who's not going to run and tell your business or look at you funny or sideways when you come in there. And I get it. I've been in both therapies, and I want to call them both therapies. We have what we call the church therapy, right? That's they're really just not a counselor. They're more like a spiritual counselor with inside of the walls. And we've had people. I'm not gonna lie to you, Tracy, and people on here can tell you. Shout out to your Blue Sky. I see you in the building. Peace, love, your family. We had people who came on here, very influential people, and say they would rather use the Bible. And that's all that therapy there is. They don't believe in the therapy. They don't believe in therapists. And I looked at them and I say, excuse me. I mean, I'm looking at them as they're saying this, and the Leverage Show and the entire family's like, oh, we love Tracy. Our therapist, we started going to therapy because Tracy, came to the show, and she's been our therapist, giving us and putting us to that place. What do you say for people, man, who just in that arena? I told you I've been licensed as well as spiritual. And there is like this contrast between them both. Have you noticed that, especially being in your profession? And what do you think if there's somebody who's been saying, hey, we really want to go to a real therapy that can really get to the root of this thing and not just kind of give us a sugar coat of, hey, let's pray about it. Things are going to be okay. Things are going to be all right. Throw a couple scriptures your way. And then that's it. That's all you get out of it. Does it really work outside of those walls? Let's talk.
Well, I think for people who feel like, and because this is their experience, that, all I need is the Bible and to read scriptures, and all I need is to pray. If that works for you, then that's great. And that's a blessing to be able to connect to the word like that, and to be able to connect straight into God like that without anything from your past hindering you or anything mentally hindering you. If you've got it like that, then you've got it like that, and that's awesome. But I would say be careful about bragging about that or throwing it out there, because for people who don't have it like that, for people who, they read the Bible, but they still feel the depression or the anxiety, or they're still having relational issues, for people who are on their knees day and night and asking for an alleviation of some of their symptoms, if not all of their symptoms, a change in their marriage, a change in their child, a change in their family dynamics, and that's not coming for you. When that comes for you, it just makes other people who don't have it like that feel less than, or make them feel like, well, maybe my relationship with God is not as close as so-and-so's, or maybe I'm not as spiritual. So I would say that, there probably are people that they open up the Bible, find what they need, and they're good to go. But be careful about like talking about that or bragging about that, because everybody don't have it like that. And so what it does is it makes people feel like somehow they have a deficit, and it prevents them from getting the help that they need, because then they can think, well, I should be able to open the Bible. I should be able to pray, and I shouldn't have to go and talk to anyone about it. but like therapists and psychologists are trained professionals. And and I went to a Christian university where there was an integration of um, the word and psychology, right? And
Mhm.
it's like the mind is a vast universe. Like family dynamics, there's all kinds of family dynamics that come into play, that it's really helpful to have a trained person that has looked into all of this, read case studies, studied it out, and whatever, and have worked with people to help people get from one side to the other. A lot of times when people say that the Bible is all you need, they would say that integration of psychology in the Bible speaks to what they're talking about. They'll say that, you're saying the Bible is insufficient if you're integrating it. But that's not what we're saying at all. It's not that the Bible is insufficient. It's just that people are complicated,
Yeah.
and people don't, get baptized and then all their troubles go away. People don't, speak in tongues and then never say a mean thing
Mhm.
ever again or never get angry. I mean, if that were the case, then that would be the case. And maybe there are people like that. I've heard of people, who got baptized and filled with the Holy Spirit and just were just transformed from that point on. But for the majority of people, there's a whole big past and a whole big present that still needs to be worked through, worked out, and navigated so that you can get, from day to day.
You get that bell for that one. That's a double bell. Oh my goodness, man. If you can't say amen, say ouch. This is what I'm talking about right here. There and I think that's and let's talk about that, right, as well. Because and we just want to piggyback on that. There has been the misconception about that, right? About, do I need spiritual help? Do I need mental help? Right? And that balance, especially in the church world. Let's just stay right here on this subject. This is going to help a lot of people out. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Buddhism, it doesn't matter. There has been that balance where people say, I would rather choose my faith, my religion, and just believe that everything is going to get worked out. And there's some bigger underlying values that is damaging to their relationships, to their marriage, to them being able to communicate. And those things are really hindering people the most. How does a person officially say, you know what? Forget this. I'm not getting ready to go ahead and just lean on that. I'm just going to put that right there. We're not putting a divine line, but what I am doing is seeking outside help to actually come to a licensed therapist like Tracy Taris and allow you to look inside and try to help, heal some of these things that most things I can't find within my religion or my faith.
Yeah. Well, I think that, for someone to say either I'm just going to, rely on my faith and not do therapy, or I'm not going to leave my faith, but I am going to do therapy. I think that a perspective of, because psychology is the study of the soul. It's, if you Google it today, you'll see the study of the mind and human emotions and relationships and behaviors. And it is all of that. But the original definition of psychology is the study of the soul. So when you are working with a practitioner of psychology, you are working with your soul.
Mm,
Whether the person is a Christian therapist or not, like there are therapists out there that are atheists or that, don't necessarily practice, but they're still working with someone's soul. Like
yeah.
psyche, the original Greek word, it means soul. And in psychology, we believe that, how sometimes people will say mind, body, and spirit, and sometimes
Yes.
people will say body, soul, and spirit,
Correct.
because the soul and the mind are synonymous. In psychology, we believe that the mind is housed in the soul. The
Mm,
Bible talks about the word of God is living and active, sharper than ever any double-edged sword, sharp enough to divide soul and spirit. So God sees the soul and the spirit as two different parts of the person. So when you're going to see a therapist and you're talking about your emotions and what's going on in your mind and how that's impacting your relationships, it's a spiritual endeavor. It's for someone that, like, I identify as a Christian therapist. So, I can talk about the Bible all day unless I have a client that's, they don't want to talk about the Bible, or they are of a different faith system. And sometimes I'll get clients that are Christians but have been hurt by the church, and so they don't want to talk about it. But in those situations, I respect that. But I'm still coming full of the Spirit. I'm still there. The Word of God is in my heart. Like, I'll still say, scripture or a passage and verse and stuff. Just what are the truths? Because the truth will resonate within the soul and the spirit of the person, and it leads, to healing. So I think that, like, when people say, I'm going to just go to therapy for a while and, just kind of take a step back from my faith, you don't have to do that. They are, psychology and spirituality are the opposite sides of the same coin, and they can work together. And you don't have to go to a Christian therapist for that. You would just tell your therapist that, hey, I'm a person of faith. I believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I believe that I carry the Holy Spirit, in my spirit. And that's the perspective that I want to work from. And then I think most therapists would either honor that or refer you to someone who can help you to honor that.
That's good, and that's what I think most people kind of really wanted to hear in that action of, like, okay, where do we go from here? What do we do from here at this point? Because we don't want to offend anybody. Like, and this is not a shot thrown at anybody. If you're rabbi, pastor, any minister, it doesn't matter. But they don't want to say, like, hey, this is not working for me in this area, right? This is not working for me. We believe in God. We believe in everything that our religion, our faith stands for, but this is not working for me. I need some deep, deep, deep help. And I think that cry of help, right? What we do is that we pacify that, right? With, okay, well, we have to go through this because our faith tells us we have to go through this. So we'll put the religion onto the problem and believe that the problem is why we're going through that, because tests and trials, they come and everything to make you strong. And we believe that the trials that are coming to make us strong, though this is part of our faith, when in actuality, that's only one part. Yeah, tests and trials will come, but there's some things that you're self-afflicting. You're doing yourself that are doing damage to yourself, that is allowing you to continuously to sink and not win in life. And I think that that's the issue that we have to deal with when we come to the realization, like, yo, we really need the help. We really need outside help, because this may not be working in this aspect because we haven't aligned this truth, because there's more deeper things that we're actually going through. And I think that that's what people need to really focus on.
Yeah. What you're saying reminds me of Romans 8:28, where it says, for the Lord works for the good of those who love him. A lot of people take that scripture to mean that, the disaster that's in my life, that God has brought it because he's trying to work for my good. Can that happen? Absolutely. Sure. I mean, we all have Job as an example, and we all have examples of people in our lives that there are things that they are going through and trials that they are going through that they did not do anything to bring it into their life. And so perhaps there is, something spiritual going on, a shaking, so to speak, within to bring about change and to bring about spiritual growth and healing in the person. But any therapist worth his or her salt will eventually, once you've come in and there's the initial intake and assessment, and there's been, a gathering of the story, catharsis, which is the release of the energy that's connected to the despair or whatever is happening with you. Like, there's been some kind of, like, you've been heard, you've had a chance to get it all out. Any therapist worth, the time it takes to, help a person will eventually help the person to see where they brought this stuff onto themselves, whatever is going on. If it is, in fact, whether you want to call it sin, whether you want to call it, poor choices or foolishness or whatever, in order for a person to heal, they have to be able to see and accept uh what they've done. Like, what is your role in this? Like, like when people come in and they want to talk about abuse in their family, absolutely, let's talk about that. But what is your role today? Like, how are you responding? Not necessarily what was your role to cause that abuse, because nobody causes abuse. But as an adult now, if you're yelling at your kids because of the trauma and pain that you suffered, you have to do something about that. It's not okay for you to mistreat others because you've been mistreated. Like, you're in therapy because you want to stop doing that, more than likely. But at some point in the therapy process, a person, if whatever they're presenting in therapy for is due to their own decisions or due to their own actions or inactions, at some point that has to be talked about, or there's not going to be much change when therapy terminates or when the person goes back to their, regular life.
Yeah. Well, Wayne, you. Oh my goodness, you're unpacking this thing tonight like you don't even understand everything that you're hitting on. This is conversations and so much good stuff that we've had with people. I'm talking about so many people that's not even funny that come across our path. Blue Sky actually gives a great point. She says, when I was spiritually immature, I used to think either or, when it should have been both. And I need Bible study and prayer and group therapy and exercises and wise counsel and rest. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that. Expound on that a little bit, Tracy, of what she said, because I think that when people actually get in this space in their life, right, where hey, we doing things out of just because our parents taught us how to do this, and our and we watch them go through the private battles and then run to the church and just believe that the church is going to solve all the problems, and then come back home and deal with the same devils that we've been dealing with at home without getting the actual real help that we need. And I hate to say this, man, you would go to church, especially coming up in New Orleans in the South. You know how it is in Louisiana. And we would see more wrong things that would happen with inside the church. And I'm like, man, we doing all of this praying, but man, look at all of this stuff that's happening inside. And then you have to go home and face some of the biggest things that we have seen, and the mess and the devils that were literally running in church. We're facing it right outside with the same, and at home with the same one. And then they're cussing people out. They're beating people. I mean, like literally, like we've seen this stuff happen. Like adultery at its all-time high. Like everybody is cheating. I'm like, the pastor's cheating with the first lady, off of the first lady with the sister, with the choir director. There's a lot of stuff going on with inside that there is so much disruptive activity that nobody is getting the real help that they need. So expound on this a little bit, what Blue Sky actually just says.
Well, I think in Blue Sky is right with regards to sometimes it is either or, and a lot of times it's both and so that's where the church and the professional can be of service to each other. Because yes, it's sin to be cussing out and yelling and screaming and committing adultery and stuff like that, and the church can absolutely address that. But where the professional can help with that is, what are the reasons behind that? Like, a lot of those behaviors, they're sinful behaviors, but they're also symptoms of things going on that the person may not even know. Like, people walk around like open wounds. It's like it doesn't take much to trigger, like they're just getting triggered all the time. And so that's where the church and the professional can work hand in hand. Here in Santa Cruz, we have an organization called Saga Mental Health, and Saga, their whole job is they partner with churches and then send them out to like Christian therapists that are in this area. So it's kind of like an insurance, but you're like, as a therapist, you're on the panel. And it's not like, as therapists, you're talking to the minister or whatever, but the minister might, see someone that's okay, there's something else going on that's like in a different scope of practice. Like your scope of practice as a minister is one thing, but then, what are the deeper underlying issues? Why is this person? Yes, we are all, we're all, born in sin and things like that. And yes, Jesus died to forgive our sins and everything. But if you still have a wound, especially if you don't even know that it's there, or it's there, but you don't know what to do with it, then that's where a therapist or a psychologist can come in, and the two can tag team to help this person, so that it's not like, tears and repentance on Sunday, and then by Tuesday night, the cycle starts all over again.
Goodness gracious, man. I'm telling you, that Lambo bell going off tonight, man. Tracy is on fire over here, man. Because we were shout out to my cousin, because we were at church at 3 to 4 days a week coming up, man, growing up. Yes, we were, man, we was out there getting it, man. As a therapist, after hearing so many stories, do you talk to a therapist as well? This is a good question.
Yeah, I have my therapist that when my stuff comes up, I go and talk about my stuff, like whatever that is, whether I'm stressed out, whether I'm having problems in my own marriage or with my own kids or just my own thoughts. Absolutely. And then I have consultation groups where there's therapists that get together and we consult on cases. Like we don't share anybody's name or identifying information, but we do consult on cases. And the value of that is that you have more than one head working on something that might be difficult for you to, figure out. Like you get a different pair of ears and a different pair of eyes to conceptualize a way to help the person. So, I've always heard that private practice can be a lonely existence, but it doesn't have to be. I've never felt lonely. Like I belong to a Christian therapist group that meets once a quarter. I belong to consultation groups. We have a group practice here, and we have once a month meetings. And sometimes we talk about cases. I mean, I have friends that are colleagues that I might, we meet for coffee, and I might bring up a particularly tough case, or bring up a particularly tough case that's either over my head or out of my scope, and ask, hey, does anybody, know, like, do you know of anybody that would be able to work with a case such as this? I have an email group where there's people cross-referring all the time. Hey, have a case that's this going on. This, I think it's beyond what I can do at this point. Has anybody worked with this kind of issue, and what would you do? So yeah, it doesn't have to be lonely. So yeah, Arrow, I do talk to my therapist. Her name is Dr. Cohen. And I talk to her whenever I need to.
I love it, man. I love it, man. There's a couple of cases when you talk about those hard cases, right? There was a case I can remember one time. We just talking a case, no names, all names confidential.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get your best advice on how to handle this, right? The son and father were involved in an altercation. The son killed the father. The son also had real mental issues, and it's been detrimental to the entire family because the family was close, and the son always had issues coming up. But when that happened, the violent day took place where he took the father's life. The son went to a mental hospital. The son from the mental hospital, only spent a few years, and now is being released. And the family has to deal with the pain and the tragedy of the father being taken out of the picture, but also a brother or a son or a family member being placed back into society, only serving a few years of justice. And it's been detrimental to that family, and it has affected so much within that family, which is very hard. And you've seen the pain in talking with couples. They really, really, really were trying to find that balance. And I told them, I said, man, there's healing in your journey day by day. Just don't get over that. How do you accept the fact, or do they accept the fact, of the brother being placed back into their life now, since it was a medical condition that actually had the tragic, slaying of the father in the family? And do you accept it, or does it take time to heal? And how do they go through the process of healing?
Well, the first and, utmost, most important part of that is safety. Like, he may have gone to a hospital and spent some time in the mental hospital, but where is he with regards to safety? Like, if whatever happened with regards to him taking his dad's life, what's the likelihood that somebody else might find themselves in that position? So I would, say this family really needs to be talking to someone, having family counseling on how they're going to, whether they're going to welcome this son and brother back into the family. And if they do, what are the boundaries? Like, one of the boundaries could be like, has he had a psychiatric workup? Like, what are the professionals saying with regards to his mental state? Has he had that? And if he's being released, he should have had that. There should be something called a treatment summary that talks about why, this person is okay to go and get back into society and stuff like that. And they should be able to, I don't know, it might be confidential, but given the circumstances of what happened, see if there's any way that they can get a copy of that so they could assess, not just for themselves, but take it somewhere and have someone, read it and see, what is this really saying, and, and stuff like that. And so one of the boundaries could be that they have access to that. So even if they don't have access, one of the boundaries could be where he signs a release and allows them to release it, to his family. One of the boundaries could be that he's in therapy, his own individual therapy. And if, depending on what the mental health issue is, that he is medicated and compliant. Because if it's a psychotic disorder, then you can't be walking around unmedicated. Like, you have to, because there's things going on in your brain that medication helps to balance that out. So that could be a boundary. When I've worked with patients that have a psychotic disorder, like, schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia or even bipolar, one of the conditions for me to work with them is that they're medication compliant. And I have them sign a medication compliant form that says we can work together as long as I'm compliant with my medication, because for some things, talk therapy is just not enough. And so it's out of my scope. And so, like, if they want to set a boundary, perhaps they can set a boundary that says, well, you are working with the psychiatrist and you're up on all your meds. You are working with a therapist on a weekly basis, and you do family therapy with us. And if he doesn't want to do all of that, then you as a family get to decide what that means and what you're going to let in and not let in. But I think they should be working with, definitely a professional and get that treatment summary to see what's on there.
Thank you for that. That's like I said, there's some tough stuff that Lambo has been approached with wonderful people. I mean, amazing people. And you're just like, yo, how in the world I don't know how to begin to deal with it. We'll talk with Tracy,
First, safety first. If If that family has any inkling or any kind of hair raising on the back of your neck, go with your gut and, put your faith, your safety and the safety of your family first, and encourage your loved one to go and get help. Whether or not he's welcome back into the family, he should be under somebody's care.
Hmm.
What state is this in?
I think this is in, I want to say California. They out there in California, if I'm not mistaken. California or Arizona. It's one of them.
Yeah.
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 So could you get the records if it would be out there? If it be like California?
He's an adult and it's confidential, but you can get the records if he signs a release. And so that could be one of your boundaries, because sometimes boundaries, another word for boundaries are conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for me to open my door, I need to see, where you're at mentally and psychologically. Like, what are the professionals saying? And then you can read it. And if you can't really decipher it, go see a therapist and have them decipher it.
Okay.
So the
Yes.
release would say release to my family and a professional that will translate it for my family so that they could let somebody read it. And
So even if say if the family gets that, right? They read the report, they have another, an outside therapist, that outside license, a doctor or whatever, man, talk to them about that. At that point, do they just go off of what they say and just decide to open the doors wide open and let them back in? Or what happens after?
not without those boundaries. Because if so for instance, if the treatment summary, shows that this person is still violent, that this person's symptoms are, still active, they shouldn't be because they've released, him. But sometimes they will write things in a way that shows enough for them to be released, but a professional can read between the lines and see that, oh, there might still be some stuff here. And so a boundary would be that give him some conditions, that he is working with a psychiatrist, he's working with a therapist, both psychiatrist at least once or twice a month, because that's the medication piece, and a therapist to work on, what's going on with him psychologically and how to be in relationships with people. And any other boundaries, like, you can be in the family, but you have to find somewhere to live because, we're not going to be sleeping under the same roof, or if we are sleeping under the same roof, whatever, like you have to sit down as a family and really think through all of the safety things and communicate them to the loved one that just got out, and then keep the boundaries, because sometimes people will set boundaries and then just not keep them. They just go on with life as if the boundaries have been adhered to or put on the table, or they're put on the table, but nobody really has to do anything about them.
So there's so much to unpack from that. How does then, after the report happens, they set the boundaries, and then still dealing with the hurt and the loss of the father being tragically taken like that? How do they then decide to start to rebuild and heal? Because this has affected the entire family.
Well, maybe they don't rebuild until that piece has been taken care of. Because if you're still like bleeding from your heart, like if you're still like crushed by this and you're trying to make a relationship with the person that caused it, that might not be humanly possible.
Yeah.
So that's a boundary too. It's like, to what extent am I able, given my perception of things and given the hurt and pain and sense of loss that I feel? And each person would have to be able to come to terms with that. That's not something that can be collectively done. Not that piece as a family. Like all those other boundaries can be collectively done as a family, but how each and every person is dealing with it, that has to be considered, and that person sets their individual boundary. And so what that might look like is, let's say everybody in the family is like, okay, everything's come on in. We're going to put this behind us and we're going to whatever. But there's someone that's still very much suffering from it.
Yeah.
So what that might look like is, okay, well then if so and so is going to be there at Thanksgiving, then I'm out.
Yeah.
Or it might look like, well, maybe so and so can have Thanksgiving and I'll be there at Christmas, but I can't, but each person has to decide that for themselves. So it would take a lot of family meeting and conversation, a lot of self-reflection, journaling, and being honest with where you are, not coming from a standpoint of where you think you should be, like I'm a Christian, so I should forgive,
Yeah.
but being really honest with where you are and not thinking that I need to be over this because 3/4 of the family have gotten over it or they can get past it, but I can't, so I need to get it together. You have to be honest with where you're at with something, because that's huge. I mean, somebody's not here anymore.
Yeah.
This
Well, it's so bad that and we can go. I got a couple more other questions that people have put on here, but it's so bad that it's affected the relationship statuses for some of the other people within their relationships because that piece is lost, and now they can't be the person to the person that they're connected with because of that piece being lost, and they can't heal right, and it's whether it's kids involved and everything else, they just can't be the person that they once were since that has tragically taken place. And then it's an effect on both sides because the other, spouse is looking like, hey, I just want my spouse back. And the spouse is like, how can I get back when I'm dealing with this huge hole in my heart and dealing with this anger mixed with bitterness, mixed with frustration, mixed with mixed emotions? Like there's a full domino effect with that piece being taking place like that.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like each person it would probably benefit from individual therapy as well as family therapy, extended and all, and meet yourself where you're at. Take your time. Like, don't judge yourself by somebody else's progress. You be where you're at in your own, rate of healing and level of healing and depth of healing.
Well, that you lighten this up, man. Shout out to Tracy on this one. That's a huge thing for that entire awesome family.
Imagine, yeah.
Yeah, of going there. Now next, this is a good one. How do I get back from finding myself once I've lost myself? Feeling like they've lost themselves, looks like. And where do I go? Where do I start searching?
Therapy is a good place, but also like self-reflective questions. If you're not in a spiritual community, like going to church, and if you can find a church that has groups like that, where people are welcomed and, they're welcomed on their journey and they're not forced or to look like the rest of the congregation or to look this way or be, that way and things like that. But there are lots of different resources out there. Look for books, self-help books that you can read. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Actually, I there is one that I think it's called Rebuilding the Real You or something like that. And I forget it's a minister who wrote it.
Okay.
I don't know if he's a therapist or not, but looking for books like that. Like there's another book that's called Waking the Dead. And I can't think of that guy's name either. Stacy. I just know his wife's name, but I can't think of their last name. But looking for books like that so that you can start, and then, get along with the Holy Spirit and ask, questions like, what stops me from being me? Like how, figuring out how did I lose myself? Like, was it a trauma? Was it a loss? Because sometimes grief and loss can help people feel lost and like they've lost themselves. Sometimes spending years perpetrating, like being something for the crowd or being something, that other people expect you to be, you can kind of lose yourself along the way. But things like therapy and reflective questions and self exploration, journaling, things like morning pages. And morning pages is where you get up, and the first thing you do is you write 3 free flow pages like every day and just let stuff come out. But I think that, you know, excuse me, working with a professional, definitely, if you're feeling that lost in yourself and can't find yourself.
Okay. You heard it from Tracy. All right. I got to get to this last one.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm trying to read I'm gonna paraphrase it, right? This side is being read. Where do I go from the point of staying with my marriage that I have with kids, with my spouse, or finally getting the strength to leave in the midst of their adversities?
Well, probably something needs to be done about depending on what the adversities are. Like if there are adversities that's going on that probably needs to stop and can be stopped, that probably has to happen first. But getting professional help, for your marriage, and there's one place that I recommend. It's through the Catholic Church. It's something called Retrovi.
Retrovi. I've never heard of that.
Retrovi is spelled Retrouvaille. But they say it's like the biggest secret in the Catholic Church. A lot of Catholic people don't even know about it. But Retrovi is, and it's very biblically based, and it's normally for people that have stuff like addictions, whether it's sex addiction, gambling, drug or alcohol addiction, domestic violence, adultery, like the big ticket items. Retrovi was started for that, where they teach people communication tools. They use a lot of biblical principles, and there's some psychological principles in there as well. But now it's like, even if you don't have those big ticket items going on, and it's a matter of communication and inability to resolve conflict, whether it's parenting issues or financial issues, the tools that you will learn in Retrovi can help you to be able to move forward. And again, it's like it was there people that did have those big ticket items, they would come away from there feeling equipped and like they can move forward. There's people who had divorce papers already filed and
Mm,
just kind of go to Retrovi as a last ditch effort, and came out of there, like whole, and or at least on the path to wholeness and things like that. So depending on what you have going on, like I would say definitely get some professional help. And even if you do go to something like Retrovi, see a therapist for 4 to 5 to 6 months after, to keep to bake in what you learn, and you could probably look online for other places. Like, some people have issues with the Catholic Church and stuff like that. If you don't want it because it's a Catholic Church, I would say put that aside and go try it out. You're not going to be forced to take communion or make the sign of the cross or pray to saints or statues. None of that. It's really just about your marriage. But if you can't, get online and Google and see what else is out there, because there are workshops. And like one that comes to mind is, I hear them on the radio all the time, and it's Christian based. I can't think of it. A Weekend to Remember.
what?
It's by Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family is a Christian based organization that helps families to stay together and things like that. But they have these I mean, Focus on the Family has Weekend to Remembers where you can fly different places, and it's a super intense type weekend. I've never been to one, but I hear good things about them because I'll send some of my clients there and they'll come back and say, oh my gosh, we're in a completely different place. Sometimes they'll have like cruises, like they'll have like where it's really, you know, if you have a few dollars, you can go and, you know, focus on your marriage in an exotic place or whatever, but they tend to be super effective. So like there's no reason for people to suffer. And if you're struggling with whether to stay or whether to leave, what that means is you probably really want to stay, but you just don't want to stay under these conditions. So go and get something that's really intense that is going to be help you to decide, like after that weekend, is there a chance for this? Or after that weekend, it's clear that not even this helps. So maybe that's your answer.
I pull both of those up. Retrovile is what VIILLE,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both marriage retreats as well as a weekend to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these are marriage retreats that is going. Now, can the kids come to as just straight adults?
I wouldn't take kids because you want to focus on one another, and kids are just going to take your focus because they're going to be hungry, they're going to be cranky, they're going to be bored, and then you're going to have to figure out ways, and you can't really focus in on, especially if you're dealing with the big ticket items. You definitely don't want them. I've heard of people taking like a babysitter or a nanny or something, like a family member or something like that, and just putting them and the kids in the other room. But I would still say don't do that, because if they're in the next room, you're going to be thinking about them.
Yeah.
And even though whoever's watching them has got it, it's still going to divide your attention.
Yeah. And I think that that's the biggest play that a lot of people are trying to figure this thing out, man. More say, so where do I go? What do I do? And hearing that, I know for a fact that this is always like that. And we've had a couple, man, that we remember every time they were good as long as they took a vacation with each other.
Mm-hmm.
When they got back from vacation, they were fighting like cats and dogs. Things were always, you know.
And it's a Band-Aid. I have a friend couple who they do a Disney cruise or two every year.
Yeah.
And he has really helped their marriage. They don't come back fussing and fighting. It kind of like, you know, shores them up, you know, and it helps them, it bonds them, and it helps them to attach, so that when the prickly stuff happens in the real world, they call this the real world, and then the Disney boat, like some alternate universe. But it's really helped them because they used to struggle with a lot of stuff. But since they've been doing that, they're friends again. They're into each other again. And yeah, it's so if you something like that works if you use it to your advantage and it helps you, and it's not a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's just a Band-Aid, then you're just going to be fighting when you come back.
Yeah. We all know how that can be with a lot of people out here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. You definitely get the bell for that one, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, so much knowledge. Blue Sky said, this year I realized our family did not have honest, clear, consistent communication. My immediate family was considered good, but with poor. I like that. Let me see. What is this next thing, real quick? Our family attended church. My parents were stable, but we did not study the Bible as a family. We did not practice caring for each other as the word teaches. You know, wow, Blue Sky, you're definitely coming out with some serious stuff. I love this. And I think that's, let's just talk about that real quick, right? A lot of times we do have just a church course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just don't practice what they preach. It's like, oh man, you know what? We made it to church. We showed our face. We gave our money. Boom, we did our good deed, and that's it, and stuff like that. And it's more about deed and action. And no matter what you do, you have to go ahead and show that love being out there if you really want to affect change. I know, man, from my standpoint, I had people saying, man, I just want to go to church, so I don't want to go to hell. But their life was living like they were still in hell, and I'm just like, well, what sense does this even make if you're going to live like this and you just want to go to church and stuff like that and then come back out doing the same thing? The old folks say, go down a dry devil, come up a wet devil, So that would be the case from that. Blue Sky also says, man, Mark Gungor, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage workshops. He's very honest and his personality is refreshing. Have you ever heard of that one, Trace?
I think is Gungor a musician? I think I've heard of the musician Gungor, but I only know his last name.
Okay, Mark Gungor, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage workshop. He's very honest and personally is refreshing. Hey, I like that. I just think laughter, when it says in the Bible, man, laughter is like medicine, man. I believe that. When, I always tell people, man, I said, man, don't stop dancing. I said, the moment that you stop dancing in life with your partner, and your partner exits the dance floor, that's the man, when life itself stops at that moment. But as long as you two are dancing together, I'm telling you, it could be raining outside, snowing outside, sunny outside, man, blowing leaves outside, full hurricane outside. You're going to be dancing through life in your journey together. And you're going to be always on that same beat. And so I love it. I tell people, don't stop dancing. So Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage workshop sounds like that would be right up my alley. I'd be laughing down. I'd be like, hey, y'all, Lambo's in here, man. Who want to laugh? Let's make this thing happen. Thank you for that, Blue Sky. That's an amazing thing at this point, man. Tracy, you got to talk to us. You've been amazing. You got nothing but bells, man, for you tonight, man. You got to talk to us, man. You have really helped us out. So many people, and even a tough one that I couldn't even wrap my head around first hearing it. But thankful that this will be a blessing to some great people out here. What do you have in the making? Tell us what's next. Because I know you're talking about that book. So
I put my book aside because I am working on an audio version for Many Voices, One Truth. So that's been taking up my time in the morning. Like the morning is my time for creating. And so I'm working on an audiobook for Many Voices, One Truth, and I'm hoping to be able to release it around the holidays. So we'll do a Black Friday thing, because some of the people that have read my book, they asked, why didn't I do it as audio? Because they want to read it again, but they want to listen to it, like going to work or listen to it and sit and take notes and things like that. So I'm producing it in my husband's studio. Well, I'm just reading it. He's going to produce it. And then hopefully it'll be out in December.
So that sounds like, it's October. December, when you get back here to the show.
Oh, yeah.
we should be having that book available. Listen, y'all heard it here live first, man, on Therapy Talks with Tracy on the Leverage Show.
Yeah.
So the next time, December, when you come back, you should be releasing a book, and we're definitely going to be supportive of this amazing book that you and your husband are doing together. I love this.
Okay. Let's see. December 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Oh, yeah. It'll be, if we do the third week, it's the 21st. If we do the fourth week, it's the 28th. So it'll be right before Christmas or right after Christmas.
You let me know. We'll put it in stone. Leverage Show family, y'all be ready, because Tracy Taris is on the move. Thank you for this, Tracy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You're definitely welcome for this, man. Let everybody know, man, how they can definitely go ahead, get in contact with you, stay focused with you, stay tapped in, stay connected, and stay tapped in and plugged in for all the amazing things that you're doing each and every single week.
Okay. Well, please go on to my website, tracytaris.com, and then join my email list. And then you can find me on Instagram at Healing the Mind and Spirit and at Tracy Taris. And I'm also on TikTok, but I don't know what my TikTok name is. I think if you just put in Tracy Taris on TikTok, you'll see.
Okay. Well, hey, Tracy's on. Tracy I'm serious, y'all, on TikTok, doing some amazing thing. I be looking at them reels. I'm like, man, go ahead, Tracy, do your thing, girl.
Yeah, I love doing TikTok.
TikTok is her thing, man. So y'all definitely gotta go there on that. On Instagram, definitely follow her because she's got 2 pages on Instagram. She's got Tracy Taris and also the Healing with
Healing the Mind and Spirit. That's my therapy one.
Okay, yeah, that's the therapy one. That's the Healing the Mind and Spirit as well. And you guys can go right here to jump on her email list as well at tracytaris.com. And that looks like that would be amazing, especially go follow her on TikTok. All of those amazing things because it's definitely coming out really strong. Blue Sky says, will your book be available on Kindle?
I think it is available on Kindle already.
Oh, no, the new one that you got coming out with your husband.
Oh, no. So what's coming out is the audio book of the book that I already have, The Many Voices, One Truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I'm reading it in his studio and he's producing it. So he's making it audible ready. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Many Voices, One Truth is already on Kindle.
Okay. Y'all heard it for yourself. Many Voices, One Truth is already on Kindle. So you guys ain't even got to go ahead and look too far for that. You go get your book because like I told y'all before, I've already got my book. I got my hardcover already signed from when Tracy was here the last time. I'm so excited about that. So make sure y'all stay tuned, especially for that. And Blue Sky says a big thank you. No, big thank you, Blue Sky. Thank you just for that, man, because you just don't know, man, what that means to us. It means to Tracy. She's just working so hard out here to really help change lives, man. And she's giving you the hands. Listen, thank you guys. Thank you, Tracy Taris. I'm truly, truly, truly appreciate you tonight. The Leverage Show family appreciates you tonight. We love that you transformed this, man, into Therapy Talks with Tracy, man. Like, this is your show. This is everything that you do, and you just mean so much to us, especially, man, having the difficult conversations that a lot of us, man, don't know how to have or don't know where to have it at. So we're excited about that. And I see Tracy just put this right in here as well on Instagram. You guys can follow her at Healing the Mind and Spirit. Again, healing, that's at Healing the Mind and Spirit. Okay. And then also you can follow her at Tracy Taris as well on Instagram. Make sure you guys definitely go like, and not just like, but make sure you comment, interact, engage, because she is truly an amazing vessel, and God has definitely blessed her for a time like this, man, to help so many countless of lives around the world, man, be transformed. Thank you, Tracy, for everything.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate and love being here.
Yeah, well, we love you being here because I'm trying to tell you this right now. It's just so much transparency that a lot of us don't get a chance to get from an expert like yourself, and that somebody who just comes out with just so much the joy, the peace of God, but the wisdom and the counsel of God, man, it's just really helping so many lives being changed, man. And Blue Sky is showing nothing but peace, love, healing, and leverage to every single one. I love that. Shout out to you, Blue Sky. And Issa says a big thank you as well, man, for you with those praying hands, man. Shout out to Issa, man, for that. Listen, you guys, we are not out of message, but we are out of time. Listen, y'all, we have given y'all almost 90 minutes and everything, man, of just nonstop heat. Shout out and everything, man, to Tracy for bringing that heat, man, to the Leverage Show, man. Blue Sky said, God bless you, Miss Taris.
Thank you. God bless you.
Joy, love, and everything, man. I love to see that, and we love to hear that. She is definitely so much needed, man, in this hour, in this time. Listen, make sure you guys, again, go and like all her channels. That's at Healing the Mind and Spirit on Instagram, as well as Tracy Taris, at Tracy Taris on Instagram. And you guys can find her on TikTok at Tracy Taris as well. And make sure you guys go on ahead, TracyTaris.com, and go jump on that email list as well, as we definitely will want to stay tapped into all that Tracy's actually bringing to us. Issa, shout out to you as well, man. Thank you with those praying hands. Listen, we love you guys. Everybody have an amazing, great night, amazing, great weekend. Until next time, until Miss Tracy Taris comes back to the Leverage Show in December, we will be awaiting her arrival and all great things that she does. Listen, we love you guys. Thanks again, Miss Tracy, man, for the Leverage Show and all you have done and just blessed us, man, tonight. We'll see you guys the next time. I'm Lambo Drew. This has been Tracy Taris. Tracy Taris has been definitely heating up. Hit that bell. Love you guys. Good night, y'all.